Here, in the heart of Tasmania, about an hour and a half from Hobart, lies Mountfield National Park. It is one of the island's oldest national parks, declared in 1916, but its story goes back far deeper than that. For tens of thousands of years, Tasmanian Aboriginal people walked these forests, living with the seasons, moving through the valleys, and knowing every tree, fern and stream as part of a living world. We begin our walk with the sounds of the forest walking around us. Parrots and sulphur-crested cockatoos fill the tall gums with their raucous cries, sometimes deafening, sometimes playful. They are guardians of the canopy, but also our guides, their calls leading us deeper into the heart of this forest. The air is cool and damp, carrying the smell of earth and eucalyptus. Early morning fog has only just lifted, and beads of water still cling to every moss and fern frond, sparkling when the light breaks through. Long before these paths were laid for visitors, this was a cultural landscape. The Palawa people saw the falls, the rivers, the mountains, not as scenery, but as part of their identity, each place connected by stories, spirits and ancestors. These waterways carried life, fish, plants, and the purest of waters flowing from the snow on the high peaks above. Walking here is a reminder that we are visitors on the land that has been walked for countless generations before us. When Europeans first pushed into these valleys in the 1800s, they were astonished by what they saw. The waterfalls became the subjects of sketches, paintings, and early photographs. Russell Falls in particular became Tasmania's most famous natural wonder, gracing postcards and travel books. Artists carried its image across the world, and soon visitors began arriving to see it for themselves. At the same time, the settlers saw something else. The towering mountain ash trees, Eucalyptus regnans, among the tallest flowering plants in the world, grow here to enormous heights. To loggers, they represented wealth and timber. To early conservationists, they represented something unique and worth saving. It was this clash between exploitation and preservation that eventually led to Mountfield being declared a national park more than a century ago. Today we walk those same paths with new eyes. The track will take us first through the towering giant trees, then on to the elegant curve of Horseshoe Falls. From there we descend to the thunder of Russell Falls before pushing deeper into the forest for the quiet grace of Barron Falls. Above us, snow still lies on the mountain peaks. It is springtime, yet the forest floor is cold, wet and muddy. Meltwater trickles into the creeks and gullies, racing downhill until it bursts over the cliffs as waterfalls. Every drop of water we see today began as snow or rain high on the ridges, proof of how tightly the mountain and valley are bound together. As we follow the track, other walkers come and go. Bushwalking groups, couples, and curious travellers appear briefly along the trail, but just as quickly as they arrive, they are swallowed up again by the forest. Their voices fade into the calls of birds, the whisper of wind, and the steady sound of running water. This is the power of Mountfield. It makes individuals small, reminding us that the forest has its own rhythm, its own time. Look closer at the ground, at the trunks. at the fallen logs. The forest here is alive in layers. Lichens cling to stone and bark, glowing almost with their own light in the damp. Fungi rise in strange and brilliant forms. Over the next hour, we'll walk through these ancient forests, stand before some of Tasmania's most iconic waterfalls, and feel the story of this land unfold around us. If you love wild forests, ancient stories, and the power of nature, please like this video, subscribe to the Parrots and join our growing community of people who believe these places are worth celebrating and protecting. Now, with the cockatoos leading us on, let's step further into the forest and begin our journey. As the track carries us deeper, the forest rises higher and higher around us. This is the full tree split, Mount Ash, eucalyptus redwoods, and growth of singing ivers. Some stretch more than 80 metres into the sky, among the tallest flowering plants on earth. Their trunks are broad, straight, and impossibly smooth, soaring upward until they disappear into the canopy. To walk among them is to feel both very small and very fortunate. These giants are hundreds of years old, living through storms, fires, and countless seasons. They have seen generations of Aboriginal people pass through, carrying stories of the land. They have witnessed the arrival of settlers who, at first, sought to cut them down, but later fought to preserve them. Beneath these towering trees, the forest is a layered world. Massive tree ferns rise in elegant fans, while fallen trunks lie across the forest floor, now reborn as hosts for moss, fungi, and new life. The cycle of the forest is all around us, life growing from decay, and the giants above continuing to reach for the sky. The air here is cool and heavy with moisture, carrying the scent of wet bark and fresh earth. If you pause and listen, the forest reveals itself, cockatoos wheeling high above, the scratch of rosellas in the understory, the rustle of wallabies moving cautiously through the ferns. To stand on this track is to stand in a living cathedral, built not by hands but by time and nature. The mountain ash are pillars, the ferns are arches, and the filtered light streaming through mist and leaves is a stained glass more beautiful than any made by people. Here, perspective sharpens. We are not masters of this place, but guests. The forest has been here long before us and will remain long after. And, for a brief moment, we are part of its story, walking quietly among the tallest trees on earth. These towering trees we walk among are more than just giants. The Eucalyptus regnans, commonly known here as giant ash, mountain ash or swamp gum. In the Mountfield National Park, some of these reach heights of 70 metres or more and are estimated to be 350 to 400 years old. The name regnans comes from Latin, to rule, because these trees dominate the landscape with their magnitude. Their bark, lower trunks often show thicker, rough bark, stocking of rough bark, whereas further up, the bark becomes smooth, pale grey or cream, shedding in ribbons. These mountain ash trees grow very fast in favourable conditions. Early years see rapid vertical growth, sometimes over a metre a year, though growth slows as they age. They prefer cool, wet forests with deep, well-drained soils, frequent rain, good soil, depth, and consistent moisture to help them thrive. They are obligate seeders, meaning big fires often scorch or kill mature trees, and regeneration happens from seeds released after such events. Without disturbance, fire or other canopy openings, young seedlings may struggle to get enough light. These giant ash trees host a vast understory. Tree ferns, mosses, lichens, small saplings, fungi, all live in their shadow and depend on the moist microclimate their canopy helps maintain. Hollows in older trees become homes for birds, mammals and insects. Sulphur-crested cockatoos or black cockatoos sometimes nest in high hollows. Many smaller creatures use the decaying wood for shelter. The park features several such trees along the Russell Falls track. Some are examples of old-growth forest untouched for centuries. Standing beneath these ash giants, you can see why people have long called them rulers of the forest. Their crowns rise so high you lose sight of the top when you look up. They shape the light, the rain, the air around you. They are landmarks in time, older than many human histories, yet fragile in certain ways. In fire, storm, age, they change, and their survival depends on care, on protection of the forest around them, and respect for the ecosystems they sustain. What was a murmur at Horseshoe Falls now grows into a steady roar, a heartbeat of the valley. The air cools as we draw nearer, touched by spray that drifts through the trees before we even see the source. And then the forest parts and Russell Falls appears. This is Tasmania's most celebrated waterfall, a living curtain of white water fanning out across black cliffs. It tumbles in perfect tiers, cascading in sheets that shimmer in the light, drifting down into a pool ringed by moss and ferns. No matter how many times you've seen it in photographs or paintings, nothing prepares you for the scale and grace of standing here in person. As we follow these well-worn paths, it's easy to forget that the forest itself is not naturally built for footsteps like ours. The ground here is soft, waterlogged, and shifting with every season. Without care, thousands of visitors each year would trample delicate roots, erode the soil, and leave scars in the forest floor. That's where the work of Tasmania Parks and Wildlife Service comes in. Rangers and volunteers have laid timber boardwalks, built steps into the steep slopes, and bridged creeks with sturdy crossings. Every plank of wood, every gravel section, every stair cut into the hillside is designed to guide us safely and at the same time protect the living world around us. In places where the path dips through swampy ground, raised walkways keep our boots above the mud and prevent us from slipping into fragile moss and lichen beds. Where the trail climbs or descends, carefully built stairs reduce erosion, stopping the hillside from washing away in heavy rain. In wetter seasons, drains and culverts carry water off the track, keeping the surface firm enough for walkers. It's ongoing work, often unseen. Storms bring down branches and trees, floods undercut sections of the track, and heavy foot traffic slowly wears surfaces away. Teams return again and again, repairing, replacing, and upgrading so the experience remains safe and the forest remains protected. Maintaining a place like Mount Field is more than just fixing paths. It's a balance between opening the park to people and keeping it wild. Too little management and the land would be damaged. Too much and the wilderness would lose its character. The boardwalks and tracks are a kind of compromise, allowing us to walk deep into this ancient forest while leaving the smallest possible footprint behind. Every time we step onto a walkway, we are stepping onto the work of many hands, quietly preserving both our access and the forest's integrity. It is a reminder that to protect a place is not just to look at it, not to lock it away, but to care for it so that people can connect, learn, and fall in love with it, ensuring its survival for generations to come. The track dips and narrows, and the sound of water begins to join us. It starts as a murmur in the distance, a soft thread of sound woven into the calls of parrots and the rustle of the forest. Step by step it grows louder, guiding us toward one of Mount Field's treasures. Through the ferns and mossy rocks, Horseshoe Falls reveals itself. Water tumbles gently over tiered steps of dark dolerite rock, curling around in a perfect arc, like a natural amphitheatre carved by time. The shape is delicate, almost symmetrical, as if nature took extra care here to craft something graceful. Everything around the falls is alive with green moss, clings to every surface, soaking up the spray, Tree ferns stretch their fronds toward the falling water, as if leaning in to listen. Lichens and tiny plants make a garden out of the rocks. In spring, when the creeks run high with snowmelt from the mountains, the falls are full and lively, spilling over in ribbons of white. Standing here, it's easy to imagine this as a meeting place. Aboriginal people once walked these valleys, and the constant presence of water would have drawn them, just as it draws us now. Later, settlers and visitors stood here too, sketching, painting, and carrying away images of a landscape so different to anything they had known. Horseshoe Falls has a quieter voice than Russell Falls, which we'll come to soon. Here, the sound is gentle and measured, not a roar but a song. It invites you to pause, to notice the details, to look closely at the way water shapes stone and how the forest embraces both. For a moment, all the noise of the world beyond this valley disappears. All that remains is the curve of water, the softness of moss, and the rhythm of a forest that has never stopped breathing. The waterfalls we stand before are not only shaped by water, they are also stories written in stone. Mount Field is built on a foundation of dolerite, a dark column-forming rock that gives the cliffs around Russell and Lady Barron Falls their sheer faces. Millions of years ago, molten rock forced its way up through layers of older sandstone, cooling slowly into vast slabs that now form the bones of the Tasmanian highlands. Over time, the rivers and creeks flowing down from the mountains above began carving their way through the rock. Dolerite is strong, but even the hardest stone yields to water given enough time. Layer by layer, drop by drop, the streams cut channels, found weaknesses, and eventually spilled over edges. The waterfalls we see today are the living result of this endless process, sculpted not by sudden change, but by thousands upon thousands of years of persistence. Notice how Russell Falls forms a tiered curtain. This is because different rock layers erode at different rates. Softer layers are worn away first, leaving shelves where water fans out in perfect symmetry. Horseshoe Falls, by contrast, is shaped more like an amphitheatre, where curved erosion of the cliff has created its gentle arc. Lady Barron Falls, lower in the valley, cascades in steps over exposed rock ledges, like a staircase worn smooth by centuries of flow. The geology also explains the lushness of the forest. Dolerite and sandstone breaks down into rich, well-drained soils that, when combined with constant rain and snowmelt, create the perfect conditions for giant trees and dense understory to thrive. The very rocks beneath our feet are feeding the forest around us. So while the water captures our eyes and ears, the stone beneath tells the deeper tale, a story of fire, pressure, erosion and time. Together, water and rock have created a landscape that feels both ancient and alive, a place where the earth itself seems to move and breathe. For the Palawa people, who knew these lands long before settlers arrived, places like this were not simply scenic, they were part of a living world. Each fall, each stream, carrying meaning, sustenance, and spirit. When Europeans first saw Russell Falls, it stirred a different kind of reverence. In the 19th century, it became one of Tasmania's first great tourist attractions. Painters sketched it, photographers set up their heavy cameras to capture it, and soon postcards of the falls travelled across oceans, showing the world a glimpse of this faraway island. It was these images, more than anything, that brought Mount Field into the hearts of travellers. Standing at the base of Russell Falls today, you hear the thunder of water rushing from mountain streams above, fed by snow and rain from the peaks of Mount Field. That water has journeyed down through gullies and forests before spilling over this edge, endlessly carving the rocks below. The cliffs themselves tell a story millions of years older. Layers of dark dolerite formed when molten rock pushed its way through ancient sandstone. The falls are both fragile and eternal, changing with every season, yet unchanging in their presence. Around you, families, couples and walkers gather, their voices hushed by the sheer power of the place. Cameras click, laughter echoes briefly, but quickly the forest absorbs the sound. The roar of the falls drowns everything else. Russell Falls is not just a sight to behold, it is an experience you feel in your chest, in the cool spray on your skin, in the way it makes you look up and breathe more deeply. It reminds you that the water is life, that here in Tasmania, life is still pure and wild.
whispers of the wildlife, a melody so sweet, yeah. Birds above, singing songs of grace. In this natural haven, we find our place. Every breath we take, in this lush domain, in this harmony, we break the chain.
In the heart of the rainforest, where the world feels still, nature's embrace, a calming thrill among the greenery. We find our peace in this wild retreat. Our spirits release.
Streams of crystal water, flowing pure and clear. In this tranquil paradise, there's nothing to fear, yeah. With every step, we were more in tune. In this peaceful place, under the moon, with every rustle, the forest sings. In this retreat, we spread our wings.
In the heart of the rainforest, where the world feels still, nature's embrace, a calming thrill among the greenery. We find our peace in this wild retreat. Our spirits release. In the heart of the rainforest, where the world feels still, nature's embrace, a calming thrill among the greenery. We find our peace in this wild retreat. Our spirits release. In the heart of the rainforest, heart set free. In this natural paradise, it's you and me.
The track winds on, climbing gently before dipping back into the hush of the rainforest. By now, the groups of walkers have thinned. The noise of Russell Falls fades behind us, and the forest grows quiet again, save for the calls of birds and the steady drip of water. This is the path to Lady Barron Falls, the final jewel of the circuit. It feels more secret here, more intimate. The track narrows between moss-covered logs and tree ferns that arch above like green umbrellas. Every step is softened by damp earth and leaf litter, the smell of the forest rich and deep. At last, through a gap in the foliage, the falls reveal themselves. Lady Barron is not as tall as Russell, nor as symmetrical as Horseshoe, but it has a grace all its own. Water fans out in delicate steps, slipping across polished stone in ribbons that shine silver against the dark rock. It is quieter here, a place for reflection rather than awe. The name itself recalls a time of settlers and governors, when places were renamed to honour the families of colonial leaders, but the spirit of the falls goes deeper than that. For thousands of years, this stream has flowed down from the mountain, nourishing the forest and feeding into the rivers below. To the Aboriginal people of this land, the falls were not names on the map, but living parts of country, always flowing, always alive. Standing here, you can feel that continuity. The water is the same snowmelt we felt at Russell Falls, the same pure streams we heard at Horseshoe. It ties the whole valley together, a reminder that these forests and rivers are one great system, drinking in the seasons and giving life in return. By the time we leave Lady Barron Falls, the morning fog has long since burned away. The forest glows with the damp light of spring. The cockatoos have quietened, though every now and then a flash of colour, a parrot, a rosella, breaks the green. Other walkers pass, their footsteps soft on the track, their voices hushed as if they too feel the spell of this place. This is the gift of Mount Field, a journey that begins with towering giants, carries you past cascades of water, and leaves you with the stillness of reflection. It is a walk, not just through a forest, but through time, through stories of the first people, the settlers, and the timeless cycles of nature. And as we turn to make our way back, the sound of the falls lingers behind us, carried on the cool air. It feels less like leaving and more like carrying a piece of the forest with us, a reminder that places like this are rare, precious, and alive. As we leave Mount Field National Park, the sounds of waterfalls fade and the voices of the forest return to their rhythm. The towering gums stand as they always have. Cockatoos wheel above the canopy and the rivers keep flowing, as they have for millennia, and as they will long after us. This walk has carried us through the living heart of Tasmania. We've stood among some of the tallest flowering plants on earth, felt the spray of Russell Falls on our skin, paused at the elegance of Horseshoe Falls, and found quiet reflection at Lady Barron Falls. Along the way, we've glimpsed the stories of both the Aboriginal custodians who first walked these tracks and the settlers who later sought to preserve and sometimes exploit what they found. But above all, Mount Field reminds us of perspective, how small we are beside these giants, how fleeting our footsteps compared to the endless rhythm of water and stone, and yet how lucky we are to share in it, even for a moment. If you've enjoyed this journey, we invite you to walk with us again. Like this video, subscribe to The Tree of Us, and help us grow a community that celebrates the forests, rivers, and stories of this incredible land. Until our next walk, may you carry the sound of falling water, the strength of towering trees, and the stillness of the forest with you. We are The Tree of Us. Thank you for walking with us today.